everyone! Today is launch day, and what does launch day mean? For me, that means today is the first day Assemble the Tribe will be available all over the world, and I am so excited to share it with you. But before you go out and get your copy, what I wanted to do today is just share a little bit of the behind the scenes. And so to do that, I have invited my very special friend, Simona Mills-Pitcher. She is a chaplain, she is a teacher, she is a comedian, she is an athlete. She just is. So we're going to sit down and have a conversation and talk about the book, and there's a special surprise at the end as well. So come hang out with me and let's get ready to talk about Assemble the Tribe.
I cannot believe it has been 10 years since we first
It
met.
hasn't been 10 years. I mean, I haven't aged.
Well, not at all. I know, it feels like one. But it was at a barbecue, and the music was just popping, and everything was...
I don't remember music.
No, because then I
think that might
heard
have
it.
been in your head.
Yeah, pretty much. But I do remember it being a place called Windy Top.
I do remember.
All right, well then, our friendship has been a breeze ever since.
Maybe for you.
But what's amazing about just knowing you is just knowing that you gave birth to 3 beautiful children.
I only have 2.
Well, follow with me. Tristan is 1, Taylor is the 2nd, and the 3rd is this brand new baby. Assemble the Tribe.
Okay, well, I'll go with that. If you're calling Assemble the Tribe my baby, it was a process, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. So you've got to tell us, what is this book about, and why did you write it?
So if I had to summarize Assemble the Tribe, I mean, it's a lot of pages, but if I had to summarize it into one sentence, I would say it's about how to unleash your unique value, redefine your female tribe, and reimagine how you show up in the world.
I like that.
Now, in terms of why I wrote it, it's a bit of a story because, to be honest, I never intended to write this book.
Really?
So, from our work together, we produced Design for Impact, which is a women's event. And in January of 2018, after our second event, we were here after the event. It was exciting. We were up to 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
And then I went to sleep. And then at 5, all of a sudden, I woke up. Now, I'm a morning girl, but not a 5 o'clock in the morning girl. And there was just something that was pushing me, go sit at the computer, go sit at the computer. And I fought it probably for a good 30 minutes because I didn't really want to get up. I wanted to get back to sleep. And so, finally I decided it was the feeling was persistent enough that I decided to get up and go just sit at the computer. And an hour later, I had the outline for this book.
Wow.
And to be honest, the outline is almost exactly the same as that first night when I started to write the book.
Okay, that's amazing. That's amazing.
So I think in some ways the book is really divinely inspired. Like, I did not intend to write this book.
I like that. That whole divine inspiration leads me to just taking a look at the world as it is now and the temperature of the world and all the changes that are happening. So why this book? Why now?
So I think this book I had no idea that I would be finished now, that everything that we're experiencing would be going on in the world. And so I think if I had to kind of categorize, there's really 3 reasons why I think the book matters more now, more than ever. So the first reason is really about our relationships. With everything going on, there's COVID, maybe you've lost a loved one, maybe you're recovering from having had COVID yourself. Maybe you're struggling with the political divides that we're experiencing right now across the world. Or maybe it could be that you've experienced a natural disaster within your community, and there's a lot of kind of healing and coming together that needs to take place. And so if I share in the book, there's a lot of research that talks about why our relationships are so important, not only in times when we don't have crisis, but especially in times of crisis. And so I think we need our relationships more than ever. The second reason why I think this book is important right now is because, you know, we've all struggled with, and especially women, it comes out quite a bit in my research that I did with over 1,200 women. We've all struggled with rejection at some point.
Yeah.
You know, for many of us, it started on the playground, and for others, it might be in personal relationships or at work. And so really trying to figure out how we navigate rejection is really important. And I think that's another reason why the book will help right now. And then I think the last reason, you know, whether we like it or not, as women, the world relies on us in a way that's not better, but just different from men.
I agree.
You know, we're the moms, we're the nurturers. We have to balance that whole work-life thing. And so I think because there's a reliance on us, you know, having a book that really talks about how we can show up and what our role is right now in helping to navigate relationships and rejection, I think women can play an important role. So I kind of call it my 3 R's: relationships, rejection, and reliance.
I like that.
That's why we need this book right now.
Okay, I like that. I could resonate with those R's. Well, I've known you for some time, and I know that you have a lot of experience in personal relationships, in professional relationships. In fact, you have over 20 years of HR experience, right? And you have navigated boardrooms, you've navigated spaces, and you have come out shining like gold. So why not write a book about that, like The Boardroom, The Untold Story? Maybe something like that. But you wrote a book about relationships. Inquiring minds want to know why.
Well, one, because I felt like I had to, right? Divine inspiration. But I think what I've learned through my work in HR, as you said, in the boardrooms and working with people and the conferences that we produce, is that at the root of those work relationships is really an assessment of how you think about and value the other person that's sitting across the table. And so, you know, there's a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion work going on within organizations. The fundamental root is, do I truly, truly believe that the person sitting across from me matters? And so this book, to some extent, it's a call to action to shift your mindset. And I think while, you know, maybe Assemble the Tribe at Work is coming soon, but this book is really the foundation. We have to start there. We have to start with our mindsets and how we value ourselves and other people first.
Okay, so that makes sense. But then you use the word tribe. And we know that word is somewhat negative in media, and it kind of, when you think about how it's used, but you just seamlessly use this word tribe. So you got to tell us, well, how do you define tribe?
So you're right. It was definitely a battle as to whether or not I was going to use the word tribe. Whether it was my husband or some friends, I'm like, are you sure? Are you really, really sure? But, you know, I went back through kind of all of the research and, you know, what scientists have to say about the word. And it's very complex, both in its origins and its use. I mean, while I was writing the book, I did a quick Google search on tribe and, you know, 931 million results just popped up. So there's a lot of different ways that we think about this word tribe. And so in the end, that's actually the reason why I decided to use it. For all its complexity, it is a word that describes who we are as human beings. We're all individuals, we're all complex, we're all complicated. And so, you know, I think of a tribe as individually complex people with shared beliefs and values who choose to come together and create relationships. But it's that complexity that I think makes the word perfect for this book.
Yeah, I actually like that. In fact, when I was reading it, I liked how you defined it, and it made a lot of sense, right? So can I just derail this interview for just a moment?
When have you not derailed us? I will.
Well, yeah, I try not to. But in this moment, I'm remembering chapter 13. You talk about patterns. And I remember the first time that showed up. We went for a walk, right? And we were just kind of
having a bad day.
Yeah, it was a bad day. But we got some air. It was a beautiful scenery, and we were walking. And actually, our walk turned into like a moment of coaching, right? You were walking me through something, and when you started to explain patterns, it is as if the world just stopped. Wisdom just flooded into my entire being, and I was like, oh, it was really life changing. Like, it was so life changing, and I just wanted I know this is like a personal favorite, but can you just tell them what pattern is all about? What is that just about?
So it's a really interesting concept that I'm trying to remember, when did I come up with it for the first time? I was reading a quote, and it was actually a Maya Angelou quote.
Oh yeah.
Now I agree with Maya Angelou on a lot of things, but it's a quote that says something like, when someone shows you themselves the first time, believe them. And, a lot of times we have these difficult relationships, and folks are like, yeah, that's how they showed up. I really believe that. And then they'll pull back. And so while I believe in some ways that's true, I think that when someone shows you themselves the first time, don't necessarily believe all of it. Pay attention. Because we're so complicated, as women, we're complicated from the time that we were born, let alone hit puberty. There's a lot going on with every single person. And so it's not that one particular instance that really defines who they are. It's the pattern of how they show up in your life. And we have patterns in terms of how we show up with other people. There are patterns in our marriages, patterns with our children. And so, I think about this one situation that I personally was navigating while I was writing the book. There was a friend of mine, and there was something about our relationship that was just starting to shift. And I was thinking, maybe I need to believe what I'm saying. Maybe it's time to, go our own separate ways. But when I looked back at the pattern of how that person had shown up in my life, how they treated my children, it really became clear that it wasn't broken. It was just that we were at an inflection point. And so we sat down, we had a conversation, and we figured out kind of what was causing that shift. And I could see that had I not gone back and looked at the pattern, I might have landed in a very different place. So I think it's a really powerful tool to help navigate, some of those decisions that we need to make about, is it time to walk away, or do I maybe need to go have a conversation?
It's almost like you crushed the whole idea of first impression, lasting impression, that kind of idea, but I love it. And my husband thanks you.
I mean, we all have days where we're just not our best selves. And so we have to cut each other some slack sometimes.
I love that. Okay, so then what's your favorite concept? That's mine. Patterns is mine. But what was your favorite concept in the book?
That's like that's like asking a parent, what is your favorite child?
Well, Taylor, I hope you're listening.
I think that you almost stumped me there. Here's what I'll tell you.
Okay.
The concept that has become really important for me personally, and it's interesting, right? Because now I'll reread the book, like while I'm preparing for interviews and things. I'm like, I didn't pay attention to that. I need to do that. So that's been fun. But there's this idea in the book about mindsets of value, which is really about how we feel about and value ourselves. And for me, writing a book, doing interviews, going on podcasts, there are all these moments where you start to doubt. And so that concept in the book where I talk about, these are the different ways, not comparing, understanding your gifts, sharing the gifts with others. Because when you're sharing, you don't really have a lot of time to think about yourself, right?
Yeah, that's
so
true.
it's really that has really resonated for me personally. And I think it'll hopefully be helpful for others.
Okay, fair enough. Now, I am a nerd, right? So, and I know you're one too, but we're not the unstylish, the unattractive, clearly, as you can see. But it's that second definition that talks about being devoted to intellectual and academic pursuits, right? So when I read this book, you absolutely filled that need, that nerd need in me. it wasn't just about your perspective.
Was it heavy?
Well, no, not at all. It was so refreshing. You gave me perspective. You gave me your purpose and why you wrote what you wrote, but you gave me some scientific data and you did your own proprietary research, and it just was so perfect, well balanced. Like, so when you did your research, like, what are some of the things that you found? I know you put a lot of it in the book, but when you were doing this research for the book, what did you see? What did you find?
So I think, well, I guess to go back a little bit, one of the reasons why I felt it was important to include the science is because, there's a lot of my stories, a lot of my opinions, but the impact that relationships have on us as human beings, like, it's a scientific fact that we have to have them. Okay. And, I interviewed a few doctors and pulled out some research studies. And so that, I think, really helps to hopefully, like, really eliminate for folks, like, this whole relationship thing, it's not optional. But in terms of my research, it was that whole idea. There's kind of two things that jumped out for me. Okay. One, kind of the fact that as women, we're more alike than we're different. We've all, most of us have experienced rejection. Most of us have experienced rejection when we're young. And so when you think about it, that really shapes your relationship story. Yeah. And so that really resonated for me as I was reading through the research. The other thing was the impact that how we show up as women, the impact that has on the next generation. I asked in the research, what impact or what was the impact of observing positive relationships as a child? And, moms, aunties, cousins, like, the influence that you can have on the next generation is huge. And so those are just some of the things that popped out in the research for me. There was all kinds of things, but it's in the book. It's in the book.
Okay. Well, at the end of the book, the Be Different part of the formula, you dedicated an entire chapter to the next generation, right? Speaking of next generation, well, why did you do that?
Well, hold on a second. Did you say formula?
Yeah.
Did I? We need to talk about the formula.
Oh, we do need to talk about the formula. You have to, because they don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Okay. So let's work on that formula and then tell me why you went ahead and did that.
So, there's a story in the book about how I came up with the formula. So I won't tell that story, but I think that there's a very simple formula for how we build our tribes. And it's believe in your value, find belonging, be different. So believe, belong, be different in its simplest form. And the reason why I put it together in that way is because in order to have a tribe, you have to first believe in your value, right? I can't show up in my relationships in a healthy way if I don't think that I matter. And so once I've kind of done the work on myself, then I can go into these places where I need to find belonging. And I want to be clear, there's belong and then there's belonging. Yeah. Because you can be a part of a group, but not necessarily feel like you're connected or have intimacy. And so it's really, how do I show up in a certain way that allows for that intimacy and that belonging to take place? And then a lot of times what happens is we get to a place where we feel like we found our crew or our girls or whatever, and we might tend to entrench. Right? Like, and I'll speak for myself, right? I have a group of about 8 women. We've been meeting together once a month for almost 20 years. And for a while, I was like, I'm putting in the work here. I'm good. Like, my friendship card is full. But that's really where the last part of the formula comes in, is instead of feeling like you are full, you can actually think of it like a springboard to help you to navigate all of your other relationships, right? Yeah. And the way that I think about it is, if I know that I have value, which I believe that I do, and I have these places where I belong, you're a person in my tribe, then that really allows me not to necessarily fear going out and meeting new people. It's almost like a springboard that says, you know what, I'm just open. Yeah. If it doesn't work out and there's some rejection, as hard as that can be, I can then reflect on, I know that I'm worth it. This
Mhm.
just doesn't work out. This just not working out.
Right.
And I still have some motor. So,
I
think I'm hoping that for many women, it really just unlocks some of that fear that they have with branching out and finding new relationships.
And I love that you have it, you've stated it in that way. And even though it's for women, but men can use this too, this is like a universal fact that we all need that belonging. And I love that your book is not just focused in on one gender. It actually, everybody can use it. But I really love how you did that. But we're talking about next generation, right? And I do believe we have a special guest to invite into this moment, right? So we have a special guest, and that would be her second born, and that would be Taylor.
Yeah. So just, as she comes in and joins us, I think, one of the reasons why I wanted to write this chapter for the next generation is, I'm raising 2 kids, one of whom is a girl, and I think the other reason why this particular chapter is so important is because 71% of all women have at some point dealt with rejection. And 50% of that 71% is like under the age of 18, 25% under the age of 13.
Wow.
And so as I said earlier, our relationship story really starts to a great extent when you're Taylor's age, and I wanted to just help parents think about what we can do to help our kids navigate their relationships differently. If we can shift their mindset at that age, that's just what I want for my daughter. All of those things that you and I maybe struggled with as we were growing up.
Right.
It's not to say that she won't be affected, but if we can help her navigate that with a little bit more ease, if parents can help their children navigate, then that's what I want to do. So that's kind of where that whole chapter comes from.
I love it. And I'm raising a son, and I can use these principles with him. So I absolutely love it. Well, I think we should bring Taylor in. What do you think? I think we should bring Taylor in.
I think we should.
Okay. All right, we are back, and we have with us Taylor Dean. Say hi to the people.
Hi.
Okay. And so we were talking about next generation, and here you are, next generation. So first and foremost, there's a story about you in the book. Did your mama ask you permission for this? Yeah, because I have lawyers. I know people.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'll give you a call.
Okay.
I thought you were my friend.
I am. But Sister needs a new pair of shoes. Call me. Okay. All right. All right. But all jokes aside, have you read the book?
No, I haven't. Except, well, that's not entirely true. I have read my chapter and like a few other paragraphs, but that was pretty much it.
Is there a particular reason why you didn't read the book?
Well, the reason that I had come up with for myself is that I was gonna not read it until I could get like a hardback copy of it in my hand.
The mint condition, the leather backing,
the signed,
the signed one.
You gotta. I don't want to read the ebooks, none of that.
I got you.
You gotta get the full copy.
Yeah, I like that. I like the way our brain works. Okay.
I'm afraid.
Okay. All right.
I'm afraid too.
Well, you read at least the part about you. Well, even in the process, right? As mom was writing this, and I know that it was a journey, right? What can you tell me something that you learned about this
Well,
journey?
I have a lot of things that I learned since there was a lot of things that happened during the writing process. It took a very long time. I'm pretty sure she finished the book like 4 times. But
we were editing. I finished the book today.
Okay.
And then like the next week she'd be like, I finished the book. I'm like, didn't you finish the book last? How does that work? But no, I did learn a lot of things from the experience. We the first thing that I think I learned was to never put your feelings in a phone, because you can't really, like, if you're talking on a phone, you can't really tell what the other person is feeling, what their facial expressions are, and how they actually feel about what you're saying.
You're how old?
12.
Never put your feelings in a phone.
Yeah, that's mommy advice number 1.
That I had to grow out of that phase.
Okay. All right. And you said a second thing. So
Second thing. Friendships are worthless without trust. Because if you don't trust your friends, then what are you friends for?
Wow.
You have to have an emotional connection to that person.
Okay. Anything else?
I think there was one more thing.
Okay, go ahead.
One more thing. Necessary conversations.
That sounds like a
When
mommy.
you when you have
Come on, break it down.
necessary conversations.
Uh-huh.
When you have a debacle or a fight, can make the relationship even stronger than it was before.
Wow. Wisdom from this.
That was me.
Wow.
That last part was me.
Oh, the debacle part? 'Cause, yeah, that truly is a debacle. Okay. All right. Well, you know what? I'm really proud of you that you've learned that much from that journey, and you didn't even read the book. Wait till you read the book. You know the highlighter,
I know
highlighter
highlighter.
pens, special pens.
I feel like I'm in
that's
Civil
okay.
Service House. Anyway.
Okay. Wow. Shout out. Okay.
No, I have rules. I have to have one for her, and
Yes.
she needs a couple for her girlfriend.
Yes.
Book club.
Book club, yes.
I love it, book club. Okay.
Exactly.
But speaking of the book, and I really think Mom has something special for you. So, Mom?
So you said that you were not going to read the book
I was
until
not.
you had an actual printed copy in your hands.
Mhm.
So this is the first printed copy of the book, and I just wanted you to read the first page.
To Taylor and the next generation of women, may your world be a different place. A place where you can find your tribes and never be alone. With all my love, Mom.
Aww.
I can't.
Paid a lot for these eyes.
My master goes 48
All
times.
right, okay.
Hold it together. Hold it
Wow,
together. Hold it
okay.
together.
Wow, that was
Wow.
beautiful.
It was.
How does it feel knowing that the book is dedicated to you?
I
Did you have any idea?
no, I did not.
Okay. Okay.
You okay?
I'm good. Okay. So, Leah, I have chosen 3 lightning round questions to ask you. Okay? Are you ready?
I got it. I think.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
You ready?
And you can't use your book. Okay. Just
Put it down.
Okay.
No
Okay.
cheating. No cheating.
Question number 1. What are 3 things that women need to know to have better relationships?
We are complicated, and actually that's a good thing.
Amen.
We are 3 things. We're complicated, we have to talk, and we actually need each other more than you think.
All right. You got it. Okay. Next question. What are 3 things that you want every reader to remember as they finish your book?
Number 1, we need our relationships more than ever, right now, at this moment in the world's history. 2, tribe. We didn't talk about it that much, but they can check it out in the book. Tribe at its highest level is actually a mindset. It's how we show up in our relationships. And there's a very simple formula, this is number 3, for how you build your tribes, and it's believe, belong, and be different.
Yes. Okay. All right. Last question. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. When do you first remember being interested in tribes, and who was your best role model?
I know you said lightning.
Me. Obviously.
Let's try.
There was some parts that were inspired by you.
That's
Let
a
me
great
see.
color. Great color.
My first time I thought, or my first role model, I would have to say that my parents, and actually this isn't going to be lightning around, I'm just warning you.
Okay.
There's a story
Okay.
here.
All right.
So my first, I think the first tribe builders are the folks that really helped me think about tribe as a mindset is really my parents.
Okay.
If you go all the way back to when I was a little girl, our home was like the place where everybody used to just kind of congregate. I mean, literally, they would just throw the doors open, maybe we were leaving church or whatever, and they just, come on, everybody just come on.
Okay.
And it didn't matter, who you were, what your background was, what you looked like. If you needed just some support or you needed somewhere to hang out, that was our house. And so I really think that they had a big impact on me growing up and how I really think about this idea of tribe. The second person that I think, or the third person rather, who had a really big influence, which was actually a bit of a surprise to me, is my grandmother.
Oh,
Did not mean it.
So I was maybe 6 months away
Mhm.
from ending, finishing off the book.
Mhm.
And I was traveling on business and I was flying home. It was like a 6-hour flight.
Mhm.
And I was really trying to figure out, like, why do I even care about this whole tribe thing? Like, why am I reading this book? Like,
Mhm.
where does this come from?
Mhm.
And I remember the answer wasn't sparking for me. And so I closed my eyes and I laid back in the seat on the plane. And as I was just there in that moment, there was a picture that was starting to form for me.
Mhm.
And, my grandmother's house is actually maybe about 3 or 4 houses from where I live now.
Mhm.
And in this picture that was starting to form in my head, I saw a little girl, and she was in an old beat up beige, it was ugly, Subaru. And, we pulled up into my grandmother's yard, and the little girl got out, and she had on a dress,
Mhm.
and she was kind of bouncing up the driveway. And I walked into my grandmother's house, and right there at the entrance of her house
Mhm.
was the stove. And she
Okay.
was an absolutely phenomenal cook. And this day she was standing there, and I greeted her.
Mhm.
And, my relationship with my grandmother was interesting because I didn't get to spend as much time as I wanted. And so every time I would visit the house and she would make us something special, it was a really great moment for me. So anyway, on this particular day, I go in the kitchen and I give her a hug.
Mhm.
And I'm about to run back through the house to play with my cousins. And all of a sudden, I hear like this huge noise over in the corner.
Uh-huh.
And it's like the aunties. Like,
no.
the older, embarrassing aunties.
Oh no.
And my mom and her sister. So there's just like this tribe of women that are there. And for a little kid, sometimes that could be a little intimidating. And as I got older, it was like, they used to check me out and say embarrassing things.
Tell me about it. I have to deal with your friend.
Yeah, we're so sorry. So sorry.
Yeah. And so for me, that was just a really enlightening moment, because when I think back to my grandmother, remember, my memory was that I wanted to be closer.
Yeah.
And I remember the year that I came home and I was getting married, I went down the hill and I said, hey, Nana, once I move into the neighborhood, I'm going to come down every single weekend and just hang out with you, because she made codfish and potato breakfast.
Yeah.
That's a thing in Bermuda every Sunday. And so I was planning to go down and spend time with her, but unfortunately she passed away the year that I married. And so just to have this moment where I was reflecting that my grandmother, interesting enough, was the first place that I really saw a healthy tribe. And as I've been writing the book, I've been talking to some of my aunties and my cousins, and it turned out that my grandmother was the person who pulled our family together.
Wow.
My mom has 51st cousins, so you can just imagine how big the family is.
51.
Wait,
50.
Can we relay that back one more time?
Oh, wow.
I didn't
50.
get that.
Your grandmother has 51st cousins,
Wow.
and my grandmother was the one that used to pull the family together. So if there is kind of a gene that I have for tribe building, it really came from her.
That's legacy.
Then it passes down to me.
Yeah.
And you have work to do.
Yeah, lots of work, girl. Gotta work on that. Work. Wow, that's really an amazing way for us to end this moment, thinking about where you got it. It's genetic for you, and I'm so glad that you're able to pass this wisdom not just on to your daughter, but to the rest of the world, right? So
I really hope that it's for moms, but it's also, if you believe it, if you shift your mindset, then teaching next generation, it really matters.
Yeah, I like that. Our time is up, but we're gonna hang out a little bit after this, but for you, here's what you need to do. 1, you need to buy the book, because it's gonna be available on Amazon. And then you need to not just buy the book for you need to buy the book for your friends.
They make great Christmas presents.
They do. And then you need to sign up for the launch at assemblethetribe.com. That should be somewhere on the
It's
screen.
tonight.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Tonight. That's
Very
right.
important.
You've got to sign up. You've got to sign up to that. And honestly, when you do all those things, you will become a part of this tribe. You'll be able to engage in this conversation for yourself and have conversations with other people. Do what just patterns. So remember chapter 13 patterns. But go ahead and write the book. And you know what? A final word from our author. We're going to just hear a final word from her, but I just want you all to know that this book is life-changing, not just for my age, but for the age that's coming, the age that's here. All right, so any final words? Anything else you want to tell us?
Well, thank you for coming and hanging out with me today. This is a big day, special moment, and it's really great to have two of my most special people here in crazy special people here in the room. And yeah, it's an honor to be able to share this message. So I do hope everyone enjoys it.
All right, guys, we're gonna hashtag this moment. Hashtag tribe our world. Let's say that together.
Okay, yeah.
Hashtag, ready?
Yeah.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Hashtag tribe our world.